He's turning Clint Bowyer.
Possibly the most infamous call from the 2012 season. Any NASCAR fan would be able to tell you exactly where that soundbite comes from. In my last video, I talked on and on about Brad Keselowski's title run and Jimmie Johnson's collapse. But as you might have noticed, I didn't tell the whole story about the 2012 championship. There was another guy whose title hopes also ended at Phoenix. I didn't mention him in that video because I figured he needs his own. So what happened? How did we get here? Well, I believe the answer to all that can be found at a spring Martinsville race in a cursed car, eventually leading to the biggest brawl in NASCAR history.
15, I'm gonna He's probably looking for you. Where is he? I'm getting this. He's waiting on you when you get there.
He basically waited on Clint Bowyer to come around and took him out.
Hey, where is that son of a... I'm gonna kill him. Oh, Bowyer beats the out of him. Really? That's what our sports come down to? Oh man, there's a huge fight now. Boyer's running there. If I ever do that, just come down to pit road and punch me right in the face.
NASCAR and fights. They have been happening since the beginning of time in the sport, and in all likelihood is one of the reasons the sport grew to the size it did today. At the conclusion of every race, drivers make their way down pit road and are in the same spot, making them very accessible to any other drivers they may have upset. It's kind of like if you're driving down the highway and someone does something stupid and then right then and there somebody pays you back. Well, that's basically what you can do in NASCAR on pit road. If you don't like something that happened out on the track, go find the guy yourself and tell him how you feel. Or in some cases, show him how you feel.
As you can see, the tempers are hot when there's that much money on the line, as quite a fight broke out just outside of the winner's circle here.
Except for the rare situations where it's just a driver versus driver fight, NASCAR also has the added bonus of essentially giving drivers an army ready to fight at a moment's notice on behalf of their drivers. Sometimes they're simply trying to break it up, but some want in on the action too. It's very similar to what football fights end up looking like, or what a bench-clearing brawl in baseball looks like when all havoc breaks loose. But what causes a NASCAR fight? Well, I've broken it up into 3 categories. By far the most common fight occurs after a driver makes a bad move on the track, like a bad block or running a guy out of room. The second one is when somebody wipes you out. Most of the time it can be nothing more than an accident, but the anger is still there. The third is the rarest but undoubtedly the most deserved, the intent wreck. You'll find that a lot of times there is no retaliation from intentional wrecking other than bad-mouthing the driver on TV.
Yeah, it's a tantrum and he shouldn't be racing next week.
Or simply waiting for NASCAR to drop the hammer. Other times, you will find that intentional crashes will simply sort themselves out on the track. If someone intentionally wrecks you, some drivers feel that it's an eye for an eye and they now have permission to go retaliate. Either way, it is extremely rare to see things escalate to pit road or the garage area after these situations, because both drivers and teams generally understand what happened and how it was wrong, unless there's a championship on the line. So how did we get here? First, we need to meet the drivers involved. Heading into the second last race of the season, Hall of Famer Jeff Gordon was all but out of the championship race. After barely sneaking into the 2012 chase, Jeff was having one of the most disappointing and challenging seasons of his career. A crazy statement without considering that he's one of the best to ever do it. Jeff Gordon is a guy that led NASCAR into its golden age of popularity, but as he was getting into his 40s, the wins and results were finally starting to slow down just a little bit. Despite this, in the previous year at Atlanta, Jeff Gordon beat his teammate and rival Jimmie Johnson to claim his 85th career win, officially moving him to 3rd all-time in series history. And just a few races into the 2012 season, Jeff would find himself in a similar spot, battling Jimmie Johnson at Martinsville with less than 5 to go. Yep, this is where Martinsville comes in, and we should probably meet our other driver. Okay. Yeah, this is just about the best way we can be introduced to Clint Bowyer. While he was one of the most entertaining drivers off the track, he never really found a ton of success on it. He would win here and there and make the chase, but that was it. That is, until 2012, when he would make the move to the 15 car for Michael Waltrip Racing. He was having the best season of his career, earning 3 wins along the way, and he was also looking to make a championship run. But as we've already learned, that didn't pan out. We would soon learn the consequences of Bowyer taking over the 15. It seemed as if a curse was put over the car. A bit dramatic, I know. And I'm not sure I even believe in curses, but I do believe there's no such thing as a coincidence. NASCAR sure does seem to have a lot of those. All I know is it's certainly interesting that the year Bowyer moves to MWR, the driver he essentially replaced would play the biggest role in preventing Bowyer from the championship. Nobody knew it at the time, but the actions of one driver at the spring Martinsville race would completely change the outcome of the 2012 season.
You can't look back. We got a car slow down the back.
Yeah, Rudiman slowed up in turn 2, Darrell. He might have cut down a tire.
He tried to get there that time, and there was just too many drivers, too many cars coming by. He couldn't get to pit road.
This is David Rudiman. You could probably watch the entire 2012 season without realizing he's even there. He is an example of something called a backmarker driver. A guy who is just there to fill the field in lousy equipment with no chance at actual victory. The only thing he was known for in his career up to this point was flipping at Watkins Glen. Most people probably forgot he actually won 2 races. He was ousted from Michael Waltrip Racing following the 2011 season and ended up in the 10 car for Tommy Baldwin, never to be competitive in NASCAR again. But what's funny about NASCAR is you don't have to be competitive. You don't have to be the best driver on the track. All that matters is that you're on the track, and you can change the outcome of a NASCAR race.
Rudiman has 2 flats. He may not make it to the pits. Rudiman has stopped and under yellow.
I have no idea why David Rudiman did not go to the pits a while ago. There was no sense in that.
He drove right by the pit entrance over there and kept going.
The camera zooms in for signs of life but can't find any. Maybe he was playing a twisted April Fool's joke, I don't know. But either way, he would set up the restart that saw Clint Bowyer pushed into one of the biggest rivalries in NASCAR history.
There goes Newman! Newman's going to take the lead!
Good grief. That's exactly what I knew would happen.
That was not pretty.
It's very clear that Ryan Newman punted Clint Bowyer into the corner, but that didn't make Jeff Gordon any less upset. David Rudiman had done his job, prevented Bowyer from winning the championship without even realizing it. After the race was over, Gordon would find Bowyer and have a discussion about what happened. Although he was mad, he didn't want to escalate. Not yet, at least.
Well, Clint and I are friends, you know, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great race car driver, and I'm glad I talked to him before I talked to you guys, because I was pretty mad at him. And he said he got hit from behind, you know, from the 39, and I heard that from my team as well.
The two would stay out of trouble for the rest of the season, until NASCAR rolled back into Martinsville, when lightning would strike twice.
Jimmy Johnson out in front at Martinsville, inside the final 80 laps.
As the race wound down, the top 3 in the running order was eerily familiar to how it was in the spring. Johnson and Gordon looked to be creating a carbon copy of the spring race, until naturally a caution comes out. Near the end of the race, Bowyer and Gordon would clash yet again, this time really showing each other their displeasure on the track. Gordon would completely come down on Bowyer heading into turn 3 like he wasn't even there. He might have been clear for a split second, but this is Martinsville with 3 to go. You can't expect someone to simply give you their lane. This continued down the front stretch into turn 1, and again down the back stretch. It was clear that the driver of the 24 had enough. Clint, however, was just confused.
Well, the 24 at the end, I mean, I didn't want to. I was door to door with him, and he just turned left to block me, and I was already there. I mean, I hit the brakes and wheel hopped.
Pretty typical Martinsville and Clint Bowyer in the 24 car here. I mean, it's not the first time.
Jeff was definitely upset, but would go on to say it was just racing. After all, this was still one of Jeff's most challenging seasons, and I'm sure getting run over by the same guy wasn't easing the pain. But these two incidents aren't what NASCAR fans think of when they think of Clint Bowyer versus Jeff Gordon. It's time for what happened at Phoenix. Sitting third in the points with 2 races to go, Clint Bowyer was a long shot for the championship, 36 points back, but still in it nonetheless. He would need a collapse from Keselowski and Johnson, and it looked like it might be happening, as Jimmie Johnson DNF'd. Now all he had to do was keep the car in the top 5 to collect a solid points day. All was going well, until he happened to be running behind Jeff Gordon. Clint would accidentally make contact with the 24 off turn 2, and even if this was a simple accident, Gordon was done. Driving into turn 3, he tried to take care of business but was unsuccessful. The swing and a miss only fueled Jeff's rage. For the next 5 laps or so, Jeff would crawl around the track like a NASCAR heat troll, waiting on the leaders. So what ensues is one of the most savage acts of revenge in NASCAR.
Jeff Gordon was shown the black flag. He's turning Clint Bowyer into the wall, collecting Joey Logano. Caution flag is out. Almirola slides in.
Limit to the garage straight right.
He basically waited on Clint Bowyer to come around and took him out. Jeff has been summoned to the NASCAR hauler for a post-race visit.
That's a year's worth of frustration.
Oh, conflict. The crews are in it. And somewhere in the middle of that is Jeff Gordon.
That's stupid.
This is what it looks like to lose complete control. I left most of this unedited because it tells the story better that way. To truly understand the scope of the madness, you have to go back and watch the full sequence for yourself. The race was red flagged for over 15 minutes because of the anarchy in the garage and the oil spilled on the track. Most fights happen after the race. This one happened with cars still on the track. A race still needed to be settled, but nobody really cared about that anymore. Nobody cared about the championship. All eyes were on the infield. You would surely think that Jeff Gordon was suspended for this. Well, NASCAR looked at this and said that's not our problem. The boys have at it mentality was still in strong effect, which in a couple of years would lead to an even more chaotic form of payback. Not to mention the lasting effects this single event must have had on the sport to all the young drivers coming up today, who don't hesitate to destroy their competitors on a whim. You have to wonder if maybe it's because they saw their heroes doing it when they were kids. The curse that David Rudiman allegedly put on the 15 car certainly ended Bowyer's season, but it doesn't even end there, with Spingate and the eventual closure of MWR in 2015. But as for Bowyer and Gordon together, well, they became broadcast partners and look back on it and laugh.
No way in hell you were going to win that championship that year. I'm sorry.
Boy, you made sure of that, didn't you?
If this taught you anything, don't get into road rage. Or maybe it taught you that everyone, even legends, have a breaking point. Eventually, they feel it's time to teach the younger driver a lesson. Some even do it twice in their career.